So, what to expect, particularly as that takes place on markets? Peter McGuire joining us from XM. Pete, always great to start the week with you. Thanks for joining us again. So, of course, the focus on Friday was that latest inflation read. What did you make of it?
Well, good morning, Andrew. Yeah, happy Monday. Well, when you're looking at the headline, dropped to 2.2, so that's, I suppose, very good news, year on year. But the the core PCE ticked up to 2.7%. So while one's coming down, the other one's edging up a little bit. I think it's going to put a little bit of sway as far as central bank policy decision come November 7, and we've got to see how that drops to on Friday evening as far as non-farm payrolls, because they're the metrics they'll naturally, or some of the metrics that they'll naturally make to or view to consider policy.
Yeah, that's going to be another key data point, and well, just looking at the prospect perhaps of another supersized 50 basis point cut at the Fed's November meeting. Yeah. How are you seeing that at the moment, Pete?
Well, it's about a 54% probability, Andrew, of a 50 basis point cut. So it's got the momentum to probably edge up even higher, considering what could happen Friday evening. You're thinking around about 145,000 jobs for September. We had 142,000 for August. So just got to see how the economy's faring, and then how that all is viewed by Fed Chair Powell and his team, and what's going to be the decision moving forward.
So let's take a broader picture then, Pete, what you're seeing just in terms of the performers and underperformers at the moment. Here we go. Talk us through it.
Well, dollar index absolutely getting crushed, Andrew. It's at around about 100.42. So that in turn has pushed up everything else. The likes of Crude's bounced, but it bounced, it sold off fairly heavily. That was Friday's or Thursday's opinion, or Friday's opinion, I should say. So it bounced a little bit to the upside, but there's still structural weakness across the energy sector. US dollars coming under pressure. And the overall theme one's got to look at is, where is precious metals going to play over the next couple of weeks? And US dollar index, is that going to be further sold off? And it's, edging closer to that 100 number. It's about 100.40. So it could actually see the 99s, Andrew, and that'd be a great trade, I suppose. Just continuing the viewpoint. Where does everything trade against the mighty dollar? And look at the cross rates as well. Euro, yen. Yen's come under a fair bit of volatility. It's sitting still at 142 against the US dollar index.
Yeah, interesting what we're seeing with the yen at the moment too, because we've got a new leader in Japan too, who is seen as fairly hawkish.
Yes, absolutely. Well, that's going to be interesting. You've got those numbers as far as BOJ, what they're considering, the release of summary opinions. That's the latest decision from the policymakers. They keep interest rates unchanged. What's their assessment as far as consumption, and all of that, is going to be viewed this week. So you've also got unemployment data or employment data for August. That's released tomorrow, and the Tankan survey on Thursday.
China, Pete, of course, that was the big mover last week, really got markets going. Particularly, we saw that across the commodities complex. And in fact, yesterday came out saying it would tell banks to lower mortgage rates for existing home loans by the end of this month. What do you think we can expect there? And of course, this is to try and get that economy moving.
Absolutely, Andrew. If you look at the performance over September, it's been startling. Some of those have been up, 15, 18%. I think one is up 20%. One of the indexes, the equity indexes out of China, CSI 300s, I think up 11 or 12% for the month. So you can't say it hasn't been positively viewed, and the sentiment has certainly pushed equity markets higher. As you've said there, as far as mortgage holders, what's going to be the situation? They've got to try and re-stimulate or get as much stimulus activated across the property sector. It's such a huge component of their economy. And we're, again, a waiting game. You've got official PMIs for September out today. The composite PMI stood at 50.1 in August. So are we going to see above 50 or below 50? And as you know, above 50 is expansion, and below 50 contraction.
So, of course, as I mentioned there, we saw that rotation out of banks into commodities or into the resource stocks. We saw that locally last week, continuing today. In fact, Pete, as we speak, we're at a new record on the local market?
I wouldn't have been surprised, Andrew. I mean, it's lifted all boats. You've seen strong move, as you've said, China, Japan, look at the US. So, yeah, that's a great news story for Australia, and hopefully we can keep that, running tally and keep it moving to the upside. We've just got to see. We're in the start of the fourth quarter. That starts tomorrow. So we've got a lot to. There's a lot of moving sands over the next 13 weeks, Andrew.
There are indeed. Just before I let you go, what are you seeing in Europe at the moment as, I guess there's further pressure, particularly keep that economy going and looking to see what the ECB does next?
Well, 75% probability of a 25 basis point cut in the October meeting. So there's the first point, the preliminary CPI data for September. I think that's released tomorrow. So we'll have a look at that data points. Naturally, how the Eurozone inhales all of that. And then a decision, do we see that 25 basis points? And is that going to continue till the end of the year? Another cut. And I think they're all waiting to see the size of the US. But yeah, the US will catch up to a lot of these other central banks as far as cuts, and it'll be, as I said, a very interesting 13-week window leading up to New Year's Eve.